두 번 용서는 없어.
아주 굶고 다녔구나.
아이고 참.
아니야.
사실은 내가 뭘 좀 봤어.
그치 뭐 있지?
뭐야? 지금 내가 모르는 무언가가 있다는 거야?
You could have cut the harness to avoid being accused of negligence.
You think that I'm capable of that?
Don't say anything to Danielle. Look, I spent the whole night thinking about what happened, and I don't want them to know.
Have you heard about what's going on between Sergio and your wife? Ask your father. We know that what happened to Sylvia was no accident. Someone had cut my harness when she happened to be using that. Why do you always worry more about my brothers than me? You never cared about me, about my feelings.
That is not true.
I'm in love with someone else.
Good afternoon. You are in time for the Lunchtime News. A very warm welcome to the broadcast. My name is Irene Mchoma Odem. On sign language interpretation, we have Byron Abuli. Let's interact on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. We kick off with a presidential beat. President William Ruto has called for the transformation of multilateralism to ensure its effectiveness in today's global context. Speaking on Thursday when he addressed United Nations General Assembly in New York, United States, Ruto stated that the current multilateralism is broken and has failed to address serious crises affecting the globe.
During the United Nations General Assembly in New York, United States, President William Ruto faulted the current multilateralism, terming it as broken and having failed to address serious global crisis. He called for the transformation of the current multilateralism to ensure effectivity and relevance in line with today's global context.
Multilateralism has been failed by abuse of trust, negligence, and impunity. Moments like now place the nature and purpose of multilateralism under sharp scrutiny for history's honest examination and judgment.
He emphasized that the new multilateralism must be attuned to the needs, challenges, dreams, and aspirations of ordinary people.
It is time for multilateralism to reflect the voice of the farmers, represent the hopes of villagers, champion the aspirations of pastoralists, defend the rights of fisherfolk, express the dreams of traders, respect the wishes of workers, and indeed protect the welfare of all peoples of the world.
The head of state further said the international community has failed in meeting its targets in climate action, the implementation of sustainable development goals, and global peace and security.
The environment of pervasive mistrust between the global north versus the global south, developed versus developing, rich versus poor, polluters versus victims, and net emitters versus net victims, which complicate and frustrates multilateralism, is the inevitable result of promises not kept, commitments not actualized, resolutions not honored, and principles not observed.
The president also faulted the United Nations Security Council for not delivering meaningful progress in global challenges. Issafar reporting for Lunchtime News.
Igembe North Deputy County Commissioner Sylvester Manguru has warned of stern action against cattle rustlers in the region. This is after one herder was shot dead and 2 others seriously injured after cattle rustlers raided Ngachiru village in Mtwati, Igembe North Sub-County in Meru County. According to the Deputy County Commissioner of Mtwati, an unknown number of cattle rustlers from the neighboring county of Isiolo, armed with rifles, invaded the village and shot dead one herder, injured 2 others, and took away an unknown number of cattle. Manguru said the 2 who were injured were taken to Mtwati Sub-County Hospital, while the body of the deceased was taken to Maua Hospital mortuary.
Kaiba ng'ombe na mbuzi ambayo idadi yake hatujajua, na walikuwa na silaha kali, wameua mtu mmoja wetu na wakaumiza wengine 2. Mtu mmoja kijana anaitwa Kinanira amepigwa risasi na kwa wao, wengine wamepigwa risasi 2, mmoja mkono na ingine mgongo. Maafisa wetu Bukalat wameenda kuvamiana na wao, wakapatana na wakapigana, so tujapata ripoti wamerecover ama wamefanikiwa kuchukua ng'ombe ngapi na mbuzi ngapi, ile itatishwa.
Mahali wanachukua ng'ombe ni karibu na primary school. Kutoka saa hizi hata ile watoto wanaondoka kuenda shule saa 12 hapa taenda tena kwa sababu ya hizi watu walikimbiza ng'ombe alafu wengine wakaso. Kutoka saa hizi tupewe salama kutoka kwa sababu hii watu bando yaenda wako tu watasiku ingine na siku mingi wanaonekana kila siku wanaonekana mpaka saa hizi.
Residents of Budalangi constituency residing in areas prone to floods are now appealing to the National and County Disaster Management Committee to help them adequately prepare for the anticipated El Nino rains. Flood victims from parts of Bunyala South, Bunyala Central and Bunyala West, who have previously suffered the wrath of Mother Nature, are calling for the speedy implementation of mitigation measures, saying the impending heavy downpour is a threat to housing and food security.
Been working with the local community, the chiefs, assistant chiefs, and even our volunteers and the CHVs at this particular community and others that are around this place to create awareness on the El Nino rains.
Kuna mafundisho watu wamepatiwa, kuna matayarisho kama department ya disaster response and management wamejiweka tayari kukumbatiana na mvua ikiwa itazidi kiwango.
Hatujui tutapitia njia gani, lakini mkuwe tayari na sisi, msitusahau, mzidi kutukumbuka, mnaweza kutuokoa kwa sababu tunakuwa na shida mingi wakati wa mafuriko na mvua ya El Nino. Sisi wakazi wa Budalangi, kali tuongezee msaada, itupe msaada namna kama kuna mnaweza pata mahali pa kuhamia wakati wa mafuriko, manake hatuna mambo na mashamba, inaenda ikiisha tena tunarudi kwa manyumba.
Institutions of higher learning have been challenged to initiate programs that will tap into learner skills that are in line with market demands. Speaking during a Pan-African practitioner meeting, KCA University Chair Sitoyo Lopoikot said such programs will help hone skills among learners as they prepare for the job market. Sitoyo further said as an institution, KCA aimed at training learners to be consistent, creative and innovative so as to produce the right skill sets for the labor market.
Addressing learners and lecturers at the Welcome Center Auditorium in the university premises during a public lecture, the chair of the KCA University Council observed that the institution aims to develop students' adaptability and innovativeness as sets of life skills for the future.
As a university, we remain relevant to the needs of the employers of the future, but also prepare students for careers that will not necessarily exist today. So, 5 years ago, careers in AI did not exist.
He further noted that it is only through joint partnership with the government and key players in the industry that young people can be turned into job creators rather than job seekers.
We need to develop, to produce more students with the right skill sets. So we are working together with universities to ensure the curriculum is adjusted to not only the current needs but the future needs of the workforce.
The Vice Chancellor of KC University, Isaiah Kindiki, who echoed the sentiments, observed that the institution is working round the clock to prepare students by creating a network of connection through adjusting the curriculum to match the demands of the job market.
Networks. That is where, in part of our training, we have something we call attachments and internships. Our students are able to be placed there for mentorship, and when our students go there, they end up establishing a long-term kind of relationship with these organizations, either as employees or being mentored to start their own businesses.
Brandon Som, reporting for Lunchtime News.
The Judicial Service Commission has called for increased budgetary allocation to enhance service delivery of the judiciary in remote areas of the country. Speaking when he toured the Cabernet courts in Baringo County, Chair of the Judicial Service Commission, Isaac Ruto, said inadequate financing is affecting the delivery of justice, with Baringo among counties affected with only 2 courts serving more than 600 residents. Commissioner Evelyn Olwande said 400 million shillings has been released to complete the construction of Cabernet and El Demaravin courts that had stalled for 7 years.
The courts also happen to be pretty small, and it requires huge capital investment. We are urging members of parliament during the budgetary process this particular financial year to consider giving the judiciary massive support. We want citizens of this country to enjoy justice, and of course Kenyans will note that the judiciary has stood firm on its mandate and continue to dispense justice without fear or favor.
Garissa County Women Member of the National Assembly, Udgun Siyad, is appealing to women in the region to seek professional assistance during maternity to reduce chances of developing fistula. Speaking to KBC Channel 1, the lawmaker said more than 40% of women still prefer home delivery, a situation that continues to expose hundreds of thousands of mothers to fistula. The legislator says she is partnering with development partners to conduct a free medical camp in the region to sensitize locals about the condition and provide solutions to those already afflicted by the problem.
The doctors are claiming that in every week they treat fistula in Garissa County. So it's a problem that is there. But since you know the pastoral youth women are very shy and the culture there's a lot of women who cannot come up and tell the problem to the doctors. So we are willing as women to have one-on-one on them, go to their houses, door to door, and bring them out to come and get the help that they need. If there's any other woman in this nation who is willing to have a fistula surgeries, kindly contact Women Rep office and they should come to Garissa, and they are welcome. For those in Garissa, based in Garissa, we are appealing to them to come out and get the treatment.
A section of students taking diploma in early childhood development at the Machakos Teachers College have taken to the streets protesting against the hiking of college fees, which they claim was done without notice. The students say the ministry did away with the course and directed them to enroll for a diploma in primary teacher education, which they say has now become unaffordable due to the fee hikes. They claim that the school management has been slow in addressing their concerns.
Kuna wanafunzi wengi hapa sana. Kuna wanafunzi wengi hapa sana wategemea loans na kuja lipe karo, si ndivyo? Sasa subcontractor education tuulize kama mwanafunzi anaweza jilipia karo na kuendelea shule afanye kazi. Jamani, ile 72 ukiongeza ingine hataweza kweli? Shule ni kumnyanyasa. Ndio maana tulikuwa tunaomba tupatiwe ruhusa tuteremshe ile karo ambayo walikuwa wamesema ile ya 52 teremshe kidogo.
Give us some few minutes or 1 hour at least so that we consult and give the feedback to the headquarter. Then I'll be able also to get other fees structures from other colleges This is not the only calling. Then we shall sit down, deliberate on your issues, and give you a feedback.
The Kilifi County government has allocated 2.6 billion shillings to the health sector in this financial year to invest more in health infrastructure. Governor Gideon Mung'aro says his administration is targeting to invest in better health facilities, digital health records, and pay community health workers. Health workers are currently being trained in the use of electronic medical record systems that will facilitate the storage of patients' data.
Mwaka huu tumeweka milioni 650 ya madawa. Jumla ya bajeti ya hospitali ya mwaka huu ni bilioni 2.6 ili kuboresha vifaa na madawa katika hospitali zetu.
Refugees in the country have lauded the continuous existence of peace and tranquility in Kenya as they joined the rest of the world in marking International Peace Day. They urged Kenyans to cherish the prevailing harmony and refrain from tendencies to disrupt it.
Machakos County marked the International Peace Day at Machakos University with calls on Kenyans to ensure the country continues to be a beacon of hope in the region. Gilbert Ashukulu, a refugee from Congo, urged Kenyans to uphold peace, noting that civil strife had caused instability and loss of lives in several countries in the region.
Amani, it should be one of the things that Kenyans, you should value this. Mwishikilie na msikubali anything kukuja katikati ya hiyo. So that's a takeaway. We should take on that. We should value the peace Kenyans are having. Kwa sababu it's not only for you guys. Pia sisi tuko hapa. We are cherishing. We are benefiting from that.
County Deputy Commissioner David Rotich urged residents in areas that are prone to insecurity to collaborate with law enforcement agencies, noting that a realization of peace is a collective responsibility.
For areas that are experiencing conflict and insecurity, what is required is collaboration and cooperation between the citizens and law enforcement agencies in sharing information. Security starts with you and me. So we appeal to communities to embrace dialogue.
Political leaders who took part in the peace caravan vowed to maintain peace, urging youths not to be used by leaders as tools of violence. Machakos County Peace Chair Julius Mulwa cited drug and substance abuse among the youths as a major cause of conflicts in the society. The group later held a tree planting event at Machakos University grounds.
8 schools in Murang'a County have received a donation of computers and IT equipment from the Forum for African Women Educationalists Kenya Chapter FAWE to support digital learning. Murang'a coordinator for FAWE Kenya under Imarisha Msichana program, Pauline Masese, who was speaking during the handing over of the computers in Ruri Secondary School in Murang'a, said that the organization has donated 24 computers and other IT equipment to the schools to enable students acquire digital skills and access information online. Several other schools in the region will also benefit from a similar donation.
The program is happening. That is Ruri Secondary, Mananga Secondary, Kihumbuini Primary, Wangai Primary, Kigumo Girls, Kianderi Girls, Kigumo Township, and Benedito Highway Complex. And all these schools, one of the intervention is to distribute these desktops so that they can be able, both students and teachers can be able to access health information online, and they can be able to also learn or rather get or rather acquire digital skills.
As a Department of Education, we do recognize and appreciate ICT integration in education. Computers will go very far in implementing the ICT in the school. It will assist the students, even the teachers, so that at least our students, even if they're in the rural areas, they are able to access the information technology.
The government has been urged to release 29 billion shillings capitation funds owed to schools. Mwingi Central Legislator Gideon Mulyungi has lamented that schools in his constituency have been left relying on aid from well-wishers after the government failed to disburse the funds for 2 consecutive terms.
Kuna pesa ambayo inapeanwa na Ministry of Education kusaidia mashule. Inaitwa school capitation. Hiyo pesa kuanzia saa hii serikali kuu inandaiwa na mashule bilioni 29. 29 billion. Haijapatia mashule. Watoto wetu watakula nini?
Nakuru County leaders have applauded President William Ruto's recent directive to lift caveats on lands in the Kuresoi South Sub-County, recognizing the positive impact it will have on the residents. The leaders say over the past 2 decades, the imposition of caveats on the land has resulted in the bankruptcy of residents and the deterioration of landowners' living conditions, despite processing land titles. Nakuru County Governor Susan Kihika emphasized that even though the residents hold legal titles to their lands, the documents had become meaningless, revealing that after months of relentless lobbying, the president has agreed to lift the directive.
Sasa jana alinipigia simu akaniambia, wewe ile maneno huwa unanisukuma, tumeweza kutekeleza na nataka ukimbia huko ground uambie wananchi hivyo. Sasa ili mjue shamba zenyu mtaweza kusifanyia zenye mnataka. Na mimi pia kama wakili naelewa hata ukiwa na shamba na haina title deed ama iko na caveat, hauwezi uza usomeshe mtoto ama uchukue kaloni kidogo, haikusaidii. Na ndio maana tuliwaambia kabla mwaka wa kwanza uishe tutakuwa tuna make sure caveats zimetolewa.
Ya trade biashara anaitwa.
Glad you're watching the Lunchtime News. We are taking our first commercial break. When we return, we'll be discussing matters livestock. We have an expert on set. Be sure to interact with us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. See you on the other side.
Government of Turkana welcomes you to the Ehale Center in Lodwar Town for the 7th edition of the Turkana Cultural and Tourism Festival. From 12th to the 14th of October 2023. Come, experience the origin of mankind with its unmatched beauty, from the beaches of Lake Turkana to the oil wells of Lokichar. Live on Channel 1, Radio Taifa and KBC Turkana Service.
아유, 반가워요.
김본입니다.
김본. 야, 그 인물이 나 젊었을 때 얼굴 막 나오는 것 같아. 어?
그만한 정보와 자료도 부족한 겁니까? 기억해. 넌 이미 죽은 목숨이었다는 거. 2번 용서는 없어.
아주 굶고 다녔구나.
아이고 참.
아니야. 사실은 내가 뭘 좀 봤어.
그치 뭐 있지? 뭐야? 지금 내가 모르는 무언가가 있다는 거야?
This week on What's in Your Kitchen, we taste taita kimanga, steamed rice and chicken adobo, courtesy of our guest cook, Dominic.
We don't put chumvi because there is, this is our cooking stick.
Okay.
Now we use
Inakaa kama ile ugali. I don't take all.
Just one piece.
Why? So you are cooking for me?
For the rest.
No, but you are cooking for me. You are not cooking for the rest. Achana na the rest. Awako.
Glad you're watching the Lunchtime News. Welcome back onto our interactive segment this afternoon. We are having on set Dr. Wario Sake, the NRT Trading Livestock Director, Northern Rangelands Trust Livestock Director, and this afternoon we are talking matters livestock, transforming livestock value chain. Welcome on set.
Thank you very much, Erin.
To kick us off, let's understand, what does NRT do?
Thank you very much. NRT is a community-owned organization that works within conservancies in northern Kenya landscape and also coastal part of Kenya. But I represent Northern Rangeland Trust Trading, which is an entrepreneuring branch for Northern Rangeland Trust, and we don't do any profit. We do community empowerment for trade using different programs. Yes.
There have been quite a number of issues revolving around livestock keeping. We are having the challenges. There is the issue of rural-urban migration, and this is affecting the culture that we have been having. What is your take in regards to that?
That's true. There are a number of challenges out there. Communities, the pastoralist communities, as much as we rely a lot on them in terms of producing livestock for us. There are challenges out there, a number of challenges. It could be diseases, it could be climate change, drought. There are a number of challenges, and also a number of other things that are affecting our cultures. Let's say people are going to school. It's true, the situation is different now.
How do we intend to handle the need for improved breeding back to the farmers?
Actually, that's what we are dealing with as even NRT trading. We do community empowerment, community training, and communities need to be sensitized about, the different breeds that could be, can conform, can be viable in the rangelands. It's through training empowerment that we increase knowledge of what are the best breeds, what are the compliable breeds that are out here that can be used in those rangelands.
Despite all this in place, as even we're trying to increase the number of livestock among the farming communities, there is the issue of land. We have had human-wildlife conflicts, and it's not only affecting the wildlife, but also the domestic wildlife, animals that we keep at home. How are we intending to handle this for future purpose?
Actually, within conservancies are communities that are self-aware about, their management of our own natural resources, including our wildlife. And at NRT, that is what we try to sensitize communities about. But how to also coexist within the conservancies. Some of these challenges are addressed. The biggest challenge that our communities face are degradation of rangelands, and through that structured community engagement at the conservancy level, land restoration is one of the ideas that are focused, and land use management through planned grazing. So these are the efforts that are out there. There are a number of best practices that are within books, but they need to be really implemented. And different institutions could take interest, but NRT is already leading the pack.
Even as we touch on that, do we have programs already? And there is the issue also on education. Not many people are educated about livestock keeping. Do we have also a program that is going to work on that?
Yes, at NRT Trading, we are running a program called Ufugaji Bora Mashinani, and that is about improved, livestock keeping, and the aim is to improve household food security. And that's the biggest challenge out there. Malnutrition is one of the things that affects our communities. So improved livestock includes purposeful planning for livestock, such that this economy drives, this livelihood drives, and it involves making farmers understand what products can be there as alternatives in terms, maybe in the times when the rangeland or the nature could not be giving us what we require. And mostly we usually rely a lot on rains, but now what can be alternative? These are the things that we need to train our communities about, and that's what we are doing through Ufugaji Bora Mashinani, using different modules, and the modules cover about breed improvement, animal health improvement, market system and linkages, and also rangeland and leadership and governance.
Do you have any measures that you have put in place, or any educative forums that involves climate change? Because you've talked about dryland areas.
One of the modules that we train at through Ufugaji Bora Mashinani program is rangeland management, but also at NRT level we have a robust department for Northern Kenya carbon project. You could have heard about it. So they do this, they do community empowerment, they train, we even produce pasture to sequestrate carbon, which is one of the contributors to global warming.
We do understand the northern parts of the country highly invest in livestock keeping. What are the measures that you have put in place to support the communities, especially in the northern parts of the country?
This is multi-stakeholder approach. We are actually trying to sensitize all stakeholders to take part in this. At our level, we do that, the way I told you, community empowerment through training and making understanding. But when we do that, they become resourceful members of the community, and they could even participate in development planning that affects livestock value chain within the landscape, through the counties, through different, let's say, international NGOs and even NGOs, all the stakeholders within the landscape.
How are we involving the counties now that we understand we are operating under the devolved system of governance, and the county governments are trying hard to work with the communities right on the ground? What are the steps that you're doing to ensure you're working hand in hand with the counties? Remember, there is also the financial issue that comes on board.
I think I have the experience of having worked for county. I was the livestock chief officer for county government of Marsabit last 5 years. And we have been very instrumental, and we've left even the legacy of proper budget planning for livestock value chain. That has been the biggest challenge, but there is generally a goodwill. You could have heard about of Governor's Summit in Garissa, sometimes in 2018, 2019, I believe. So all this is geared towards resourcing this value chain, and the best practices are there. I think it's all about the matter of coordinating well with technical people, even at the ministry level, at the national level, so that all this coordinated way of doing things, there are best practices that are there and they need to be implemented. I think counties need to be aware about this, and we are working very well with the livestock departments. Even in our programs, they are involved. Even the manuals that we've developed, they have been done partly by county government officials. They are fully aware. All that's required is proper response.
Even when we were talking about involving the county government, and this deals with the impact on climate change, there is the El Nino rains. The weather experts have warned us about the El Nino rains. Yes. How prepared are we? How are we involved in ensuring that we protect our livestock?
I think it's really interesting that we are really consuming the information from our department. It's really doing well. And I believe, like what I've seen in Isiolo, that's where our officers are. In Isiolo, you already see people are vaccinating against potential diseases that could come because of the expected rains. Talk of Rift Valley fever, I've seen people are doing this, but there is need to do more of that to be strategic, to really salvage losses. we lost a lot of livestock to drought, and I think we also salvaged some. But we need to learn our tactics through the ropes, and it can be improved. But currently for El Nino, the thing that I've realized is that there is a lot of awareness creation that has been done, and that is really superb.
Many farmers have complained about the shortage on feeds.
Yes.
Is NRT coming in handy in this?
Very much. Actually, for NRT and NRT trading, we had a program called Livestock to Market. And in that program, we strategically reserved pasture. And that pasture contributed a lot to livestock and livestock feeding over the last drought, the last 3-year drought that just ended a few months ago. So there is that, but now that has been shifted. It is moved to the communities. The communities are the ones that are now sensitized to do their own pasture farming, and some good number of pastoralists have taken up that. We have our beneficiaries, let's say in Laikipia County, that are doing fodder farming, and we have already sent them. Even when you see our social media today, they have been registered as best practices in those landscapes.
We have government policies that govern all this, even the operations of NRT.
Yes.
Where would you rate the policies? Do they favor what you do? Do they favor the farmers who keep livestock in the country? Or do you think there are measures that need to be put to improve the policies in the country?
Yeah, the policies really favor, and I really appreciate that at the ministry level, even at the national government, all the stakeholders are recognized, and as NRT, we are one of the formidable stakeholders that are always recognized, and we contribute our views to the policies. Like the Ministry of Livestock, I think about 3 months ago, they were in Isiolo and they invited us, and we contributed the way that we feel issues should be articulated to empower communities.
Even as we come to the close of this, the rainy season is here with us, and we are looking so much in protecting the livestock and also improving farming in the country. What are measures that we are having in place to ensure that this time round we make good use of the rains and will be of benefit to the farmers in the near future?
That's really very important. I think for us, we are part of the stakeholders. We are doing what we are doing at a scale, that is not as wide as what the counties and the government could do. I think the government should really take a lot of interest in tapping into the opportunities that comes with the rain, and they should not be scared about, only the adversities that is projected.
Thank you, Dr. Wario Sake. Dr. Wario Sake from NRT, talking to us about livestock matters. The country also is experiencing El Nino rains, and he is saying that the measures have been put in place to ensure that we combat effects of climate change. Now, in other news making headlines this afternoon, the Kenyan and Korean governments have announced the second phase of Economic Innovation Partnership Program projects aimed at fast-tracking the development of Konza Technopolis. The announcement follows the successful implementation of the first projects in March 2022, which included the development of the Smart City Master Plan.
EIPP is an extended cooperation grant model from the Korean government meant to foster mutually beneficial relationships between partner countries and Korea. The program supports identified projects annually for a maximum of 3 years, focusing on establishing mid- and long-term development strategies, improving laws and systems, planning infrastructure, and financing plans.
This partnership not only enabled the realization of solid business case proposals that will result in key infrastructure developments at Konza Technopolis, but has also strengthened the bonds between our nations. It has showcased the power of collaboration, knowledge sharing, and innovation as drivers of progress.
The program focuses on security operations, the establishment of an intelligent transport system, and smart mobility plans that meet the urban functions of the city, and consultations for the establishment of startup ecosystem in Konza Smart City.
We are focusing on building momentum towards an accelerated phase for the Technopolis, characterized by investment and trade, innovation, and most important is commercialization of innovations and continued development of smart city infrastructure.
Speaking during the final reporting session in Nairobi, Kotra Kenya Managing Director IK Ion lauded the relationship between the Korean and Kenyan governments, noting they recorded significant success during the implementation of the EIPP project and that the two governments are looking forward to a successful third phase. Konza Technopolis Development Authority Chief Executive Officer John Paul Okwiri said, once complete, Konza Technopolis will act as standard and technical innovation icon within the East Africa region.
On the invaluable knowledge and networks we have established to continue our journey of innovation and technological advancement. That is extremely important. The future is bright.
The implementation of a smart transportation corridor between Konza City and Nairobi is expected to enhance trade and improve connectivity within Nairobi and its environs. Edna Murungi, reporting for Lunchtime News.
Kenya and Ghana have moved to improve trade ties with the two countries by identifying various areas of interest. Nairobi and Accra plan to remove trade restrictions that continue to hamper trade between the two nations. The improving trade ties have seen giant Ghanaian beverage company Casapreco Company Limited open its operations in Kenya, targeting the larger East African region. Casapreco Deputy Managing Director Gregory Pitts says the company is targeting the growing traditional liquor market in the region. The company is entering the Kenyan market through Canary International Trading Company, which is a Kenyan distributor of fast-moving goods like tea, water, and soft drinks. Speaking during the launch of the company into the Kenyan market, Ghanaian High Commissioner Patrick Masope urged investors to explore the business-to-business model to penetrate the African market. Casapreco will start exporting its famous brands Alomo Bitters, Alomo Gold, and Alomo Silver into the East African market, using Kenya as its launch pad.
Just introduce a product. We are introduce experience that embodies the rich flavors, craftsmanship, and passion that Canary stand for, and we hope this will help foster great partnership between Ghana and Kenya.
We also like to look at how we can also locally manufacture here and produce in the country, because that is the only way we will be able to compete locally and be able to be cost efficient on the market.
I believe the products that you are launching in Kenya would make us to score, so that business is about population. So we need to really reproduce more. And therefore, us as KNCCI, we advocate for products that are healthy, products that would reach the market and create employment for our youth and women.
Local manufacturers are calling on the government to seek their inputs when coming up with policies that affect their sector. Buttershoe Company Managing Director Benson Okumu noted that the policies would strengthen the local market strategy. He says the uncertainty in the business environment has deterred businesses from long-term planning and investment. The company has called for a policy review to support local manufacturers, adding that competition from second-hand imports has had a negative impact on business.
The cost of production definitely has been affected, because fuel goes into every aspect of our operation. So that has really affected us. The cost of electricity has also affected us in a big way. And when you talk about the cost of living, that has affected us in terms of the disposable income. We don't see the kind of footfall that we used to see initially. They should continue involving the various stakeholders in the industry when they are setting up these policies, so that when the policies come out, it's actually an all-inclusive policy that takes care of the players in the industry and also the government policies.
Kenya and the United Kingdom have signed a memorandum of understanding on market access and business integrity between the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry and the British Chamber of Commerce, Kenya. Principal Secretary for Investment Promotion, Abubakar Hassan, says the move will enable the two entities to identify and recommend areas for reform.
Kenya's market share in the United Kingdom in terms of both exports and re-exports has remained on a steady growth path over the years. As a result, the Memorandum of Understanding provides continuity to the long-term business integrity initiative that provides guidance for doing business.
The UK is the largest foreign direct investor in Kenya, and my job is to help encourage more British businesses to invest here, to create more local jobs and invest in your key areas for the President's priorities.
The partnership will also see both organizations act as a channel that provides recommendations to the government on integrity issues impacting trade and investment.
So I really encourage British businesses to consider Kenya for investing, and they really are open for business, and there's so much here in terms of support and expertise to help you to be here.
Further, the initiative will also spearhead the fast tracking of license acquisition by investors, as well as act as a liaison between other government agencies for the approval of business permits needed that may not directly be handled by the Kenya Investment Authority.
To understand how to set up and register my company, understanding different issues like utilities, working with the tax system, and really getting that specialist advice.
The move comes in the wake of the tour done by the United Kingdom Trade Envoy Theo Clark to the Kenya Investment Authority One Start, One Stop Center. Nduta Mokami for Lunchtime News.
All right, farmers can now get services and support in agronomy and market access for their crops from wherever they are in the world using real-time farm management technology. Remote farming technology brings together precision farming methods powered by digitization to increase yields for smallholder farmers. In this week's episode of Tech One, we show you how to remotely manage a farm.
Hello and welcome. Today we're at the City of Champions here in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County. We will not showcase athletics. We will showcase the most inspiring stories from the tech side in Agritech. Take a look. Official government statistics obtained from the 2019 Kenya National Population Census indicates that the age of the average farmer in Kenya is 60 years. It is these statistics that led innovators to wonder how they could not only rope in young Kenyans into farming, but also contribute positively to Kenya's agriculture sector.
While doing this, stumbled upon a niche of farmers, especially young farmers like ourselves, that have no interest or have no time to be at the farm level. So they engage, they're busy, they're career people and so forth. So our job is to be now their representative at the farm level.
Meet Stephen Mongela, the managing director at Plus Farm, a homegrown digital farm management platform in Kenya. He says platforms like his began from the constant call for support by farmers at a personal level, which by chance has carved out a unique niche. How then does the technology work to attract new and current farmers?
A farmer can be able to keep the records of everything from land propagation all the way to the market and extract profit and loss accounts as well as extract activity report. So you can be able to tell all the agrochemicals that you applied, and obviously this will lead to the conversation about traceability and a farmer being able to tell, okay, am I doing business or am I, doing something else that's not clear?
Headquartered in Eldoret Town, Uasin Gishu County, the Plus Farms platform is aided by a consistent barrage of real-time data recorded by extension and field officers on the ground, busy monitoring systems as they visit farms in Kenya's food-growing regions. Innovators say it is one of the ways of properly commercializing farms for farmers and minimizing risks.
Say there's Plus Farm on one end, then you have the farm owner on the other end, who is probably in Nairobi or in Helsinki or in London or in Finland or thereabout. And then you have the farm manager who's at the farm level. So all these people need to be in the same circle of information flow. The app allows us to be able to allow this without necessarily lifting our phones and calling each other.
It's not as agriculture as usual. We see it as an investment. So for any youth, okay, so if they have some money, they have some land, they want to invest in it.
Agriculture is key to Kenya's economy, contributing 33% of the gross domestic product and another 27% of GDP indirectly through linkages with other sectors. This indicating the vital role of technology in energizing the sector. To that end, innovators have a clarion call to stakeholders.
Farmers need to view their farms as enterprises, even register them. Okay, and let professionals run these farms for them, and then there are more links that come in.
A call to all the young people in this country to find ways in how they can participate in agriculture. And they do not necessarily need to go to the farm and farm, because whether you're a doctor, a teacher, or whatever you are, you can invest in agriculture through companies like ourselves, and then we will promote those projects you have, those investments you have at home, whether it's at home or other places. And we can create a country that produces sufficiently for itself and for exports.
The Kenyan agricultural sector is said to employ more than 40% of the total population and more than 70% of Kenya's rural people, thanks to digital farming.
You therefore have no excuse to remain at home or at the office saying that you cannot go and tend to your farm, because young technopreneurs are proving to you that technology has come to save you the hustle and bustle of the farm. Alan Auko, Tech One.
Across the borders in the world of business, Japan's Fair Trade Commission has warned Google and other tech giants that using news content from news media on their online platforms without proper compensation could potentially violate anti-monopoly laws. The warning comes amid growing global concerns that these platforms are generating substantial revenue from the distribution of news, while news media operators, including newspapers, magazines, and broadcasters, seem to be grappling with exploitation due to inadequate compensation. Details of this and other news making headlines around the world.
In its report released on the same day, the Fair Trade Body highlighted 6 potential violations of anti-monopoly laws. It urged online platforms to transparently disclose their criteria of compensating news content usage and indicated that it will take stringent actions against any violators. Google said in a statement that it will examine the report before explaining its services and work involving news outlets, companies, and the general public. It stressed the importance of appropriate negotiations between news platforms, operators and news media operators from the perspective of improving fairness and transparency, as well as ensuring a fair and competitive environment. Elsewhere, Tesla has drawn up plans to make and sell battery storage systems in India and submitted a proposal to officials seeking incentives to build a factory as Elon Musk continues the push to enter the country. Tesla has been in talks about setting up a new electric vehicle factory in India to build a car priced around $24,000 for weeks, with discussions overseen directly by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Tesla proposed supporting the country's battery storage capabilities with its Powerwall, a system that can store power from solar panels or the grid for use at night or during outages. The Powerwall proposal is part of the U.S. company's plans for a broader presence in India, thinking beyond electric vehicles. Finally, South Korea has asked the United States to resolve uncertainties regarding U.S. export controls in the chip sector and subsidies for chip investment. Industry Minister Bang Mun-choo met with U.S. Deputy Secretary of Commerce Don Graves in Seoul on Friday, ahead of the expiry next month of a year-long waiver for Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix to import U.S. chip-making equipment into China. The waiver allowed the South Korean pair to supply equipment for the cheap production facilities in China without additional licensing requirements. Samsung, which is building a chip plant in Texas to begin shipping in late 2024, has completed the main application for U.S. subsidies and could hear the result by the end of year.
Welcome to Channel 1 Sports. World marathon record holder Eliud Kipchoge headline the men's start list at the 2023 Berlin Marathon, set to be held this Sunday in Germany. Kipchoge will be aiming to win Berlin Marathon title for the 5th time after winning last year's edition in a world record time of 2 hours, 1 minute and 9 seconds.
Special indeed here.
The two-time Olympic champion Kipchoge called the great Haile Gebrselassie record last year after winning the event for the 4th time. However, he endured a difficult time this year with a problem with his left leg restricting his ability to compete to the best of his ability in April at the Boston Marathon. Over the course of the 48 editions of the event, 12 world records have been broken. Eliud Kipchoge recorded the most recent one in an outstanding time of 2 hours and 1 minute and 9 seconds. Kipchoge, together with Ethiopian duo Tom Gebrselassie and Guya Adola, the winner of the 2021 BMW Berlin Marathon, are just a few of the big names who frequently set record in Berlin. In the women's race, Commonwealth 10,000-meter champion Sheila Chepkirui is confident of securing a podium position in the event this Sunday. She finished 4th in her World Marathon debut in London in April this year, and she targets to register fastest time on Sunday. The other Kenyan in the race is Margaret Muriuki. The two Kenyan runners will face stiff competition from Ethiopia's Tigis Assefa, who will be aiming for the record once more. Join Abule for Lunchtime News.
Kipchoge is a history maker in Berlin. Yet again, he has done it.
Embu County will host the inaugural edition of the Mwea National Reserve Half Marathon this weekend, a week after successfully hosting the Imani Seven Forks Half Marathon. The event will be held at the Makina Ward in Mbeere South constituency.
Embu County will be hosting the first edition of the Mwea National Reserve Half Marathon tomorrow. Leaders of Embu have opined that there is need to have such initiatives that will uplift the standards of sports in the region while identifying and nurturing talents at the grassroots. Manyata MP Gitonga Mukunji called on the Ministry of Sports to ensure that there is improvement in the management of sport activities, noting that many have gone down due to poor leadership.
Tumeona sports mingi sana Kenya ambazo zimekuwa zikifanya vizuri zimeanza kudidimia, na ningetaka kuambia waziri yes, tunaongea maneno ya talanta hela, lakini hatutaki ile wakati tunatafuta talanta ya kufika kule juu. We want to see an improvement in running ya national organizations zetu za sports, ndio tuweze kuhakikisha tukitafuta talanta mashinani watu wako na conduit ya kuhakikisha wamefika the highest level.
Tunataka kusaidia watoto wetu ambao hawajiwezi. Na tumejua ya kwamba na tumeona ya kwamba kuna watoto wengi sana huku wenye hawajiwezi lakini wanataka msaada yetu. Sasa njia moja ya kuwasaidia, number one, ni kuangalia ni talent gani wako nayo. And we are willing. Now we are ready to support them all through to the highest levels mpaka pahali watafika.
The event will have 5 categories including half marathon, 10-kilometer road race, 8-kilometer races for both men and women. For Lunchtime News, I am Faith Akinyi.
English Premier League side Liverpool came from behind to beat Austrian side Last Lanes as they made a 3-1 winning start to their Europa League campaign. In other matches, West Ham United won with the same margin over Baka Tapola, while Brighton suffered a 3-2 home loss to Greek side AEK Athens.
Helped his squad to overturn the scores against Lask to win 3-1. Last winning game of their Europa League group campaign.
And in from Thomas Souček.
Elsewhere, Brighton's European ball fell flat as Greek heavyweights AEK Athens, while Dutch side Ajax Amsterdam were held by French side Olympique Marseille in a 3-3 draw.